Doing? Oh, look, I'm gonna talk about some pretty big things here. Um, like Nesara Gesara, the real Nesara Gesara, not Satan's idea of Nesara Gesara, because Satan's idea of Nesara Gesara is stealing from everyone and then, paying it out in small amounts to everyone. Well, the ones that do what he wants. Okay? That's not how it's supposed to go. We all have inheritances, supposedly, right? Okay? It really is up to you. Okay? So, God is nature, not religion. Look at the word religion. Re and legion. That's the word religion. Okay? Also, in the Bible, it says that we're not to worship any man. So why would you end a prayer with, the word is A and M-E-N. That's talking about men. Do you pray to men? That doesn't make sense. Think about it. You really have to look at words because words are spells, so you need to look at them. Television, tell live vision, tell lies to your vision. You have to really look at all this. And just because something's in a book, look, for hundreds and hundreds of years, we've been going through, what's been written in the Bible, and that hasn't really, the balance is not here. Let's put it that way, with the way that things have been. Okay, as a matter of fact, it's very barbaric in nature. Why? Okay? Because we live in a world that is forcing logic, okay, the left brain, and detaching everyone from the creative side, the right side of the brain. You also have chakras, which are, they're portals, they're brains, okay? That's why you've got to have like the heart and mind coherence, and you got to have hemisync between the hemispheres of your brain. If everything is not, cleared and running as it should, you're not going to be able to think as though you would if everything was in, good, healed order. We've been living in a world where, everything is basically trauma-based, okay? When they have got, pornographic, things everywhere, do you think that's good? No matter who you are, even if you're a man, how do you have any children and say that you love those children, but that kind of shit is out there? It is grooming everyone, okay? And it's hurting people's chakras, especially the sacral chakra, that has to do with adrenal function, and there's something that they call loosh, L-O-O-S-H, whatever you call it. The point is they pull that energy from there because that is the creative, the talent, where they make all kinds of money, and it's because they're stealing it from people, okay? So if you heal all your chakras, you yourself become abundant, right? As well as God is nature, not religion. And every one of us comes from, tribes, okay? Natives. So if you were to learn your background, okay, and where you come from, wouldn't there be an inheritance in that? I've got people that are stealing from me that have their own bloody inheritances in the same fashion, but they don't do what they need to do to get their own. They just want to steal it from someone else that has it. They've stolen it from me my entire life. I've never received it. Never. Okay? I've had actual inheritances, from wills that were, willed to me, and they've stolen that. They steal everything. But we have, the system is broken. It's not doing what it's supposed to do, not finding who it, is supposed to go to, because these Freemasons, Illuminati, the Cabal, it's all about that. But that's why we have the human trafficking, child trafficking. They abduct people and put them in different families. I'm a stolen baby, stolen, sold, kidnapped, because it's really all of the above. And it was about money for these people and having me, be experimented on by this, shadow government, cabal, whatever you want to call it, okay? Because these people they can't see, think, you know what I mean? They're really ignorant because all their chakras are, major imbalance. So they can't see, see what they need to see. They don't have all the chakras working in order to see. So how many out there have been hurt and traumatized? Because that's why they do it. So that they can hide amongst everyone and not be seen. Okay? But if everyone were to, heal, then they'll see what they need to see. They realize it, because the divine's going to lead you right to it, so that you can be abundant and your purpose, your destiny, like what you can do. There's people that can just, be happy with their inheritance that they get, which may be, it's like enough to live off of, and more than what you probably have now, unless you're one of these, people that have been stealing from others. Stealing, that's, a form of human trafficking, because it's putting people in poverty, and that's imprisonment. Go listen to Martin Luther King, because he speaks about it somewhere, about poverty and what that does to people. Okay? It's wrong. And it's to keep people down so that they can keep siphoning off of them. Okay? But the real Nesara, Gesara, okay, it's within you. The kingdom of God is within you, meaning that you heal yourself, you get all these things righted, correct, balanced. The masculine and feminine energies within you balanced, because that is the magnetization that draws what's meant for you to you. Okay? You attract it. All right? This, people talk about the twin flame journey and kingdom marriage. That's within yourself. You may deal with someone that helps you to see things yourself, so that you heal your feminine and masculine energies. All right? You deal with them until you get it healed. And look, I've heard people say that God created good and evil. What on earth makes you think that God created evil? Evil created itself. It's like dropping off into the void because their chakras are imbalanced. It's just that God knew this would happen, because it's repeated itself over and over and over again. The Bible's been plagiarized. It was, written by inferior men. Look at who wrote it. King James, what, is he a god? No. I mean, I know who this is, because, I have an ability, and that's not to say others don't. Others have abilities. But it's, when someone says past lives, that means ancestors. Okay? And you'll see people that look like themselves in, old photos, because it's that same line. Okay? And if we don't get things healed, okay, we're doomed to repeat it. Whatever cycles were never finished before, we're doomed to repeat it. So you can see what's going to happen with someone if they're not doing the right thing to get healed. Okay? And if you don't heal, then you don't know what's coming. Okay, Final Destination. I don't know if you've ever watched that, but there was, I don't know, it might have been the third one, or maybe it was all of them, I don't totally remember. But it was about beating death. Well, how do you beat death? Physical death. Okay? They said with life. Well, What is being reborn? That's new life. Being reborn is healing the chakras, okay? Healing everything. And learning what you need to learn, okay? And being reborn into your new life, all right? And finding out what is yours, what belongs to you, what is your birthright. You know, that inheritance, like a trust fund baby or something like that. But like if you have a certain background and it goes back to where you're from or whatever, and look, immigrants, like, why would you attack somebody, grab them, and force them into detention or this or that or whatever? I mean, that's like what they did with concentration camps. Does anyone have this realization? You know, ICE and all this stuff. What are they doing? This is what Gestapo did. This is what happened with Hitler. This is what happened with the Native Americans and what's his damn name? Custer. Do you realize it's the same one? George Armstrong Custer, Hitler, and now who? Who is this now? Who is the golden calf in front of everyone? The big, fake, false shithead. I think people are pretty much seeing it. Who is Hamster Hairpiece? Who is Rumpty? That's how I say it, okay? It's not that hard to figure out, but do you realize who that is? Go look in the community post on Expect the Expected on the YouTube channel. Go look in the community post. I mean, every one of them posts. I've got some posts there that you might be interested in and really see something. I don't know if you know who White Rapper Boy is, but that's who's dressed up as Rumpty. That's who was Hitler. That's who was, you know, flamboyant Custer. You know, genocidal maniacs. And they like to hide in other people's energy to cloak themselves. Okay? So you need to be able to see truth. All right? We have been programmed for many, many years to believe, you know, that the Bible was written by God, but yet you know that it was King James that wrote it. And before that, it was John Knox, which John Knox, you know, later became Rasputin. King James later became, what's his name? Tsar Nicholas Romanov. So, yeah, history repeats itself. Okay, unless we change it. You're literally doomed to repeat everything unless you heal to change it. That's, you know, when they say Akashic Records, that's what it's talking about, is so that you can see, you know, the past, present, and future. It's Minority Report, if you've watched that, literally. You know, being able to see what's going to happen before it happens, because it happened before, because you're remembering from way back when. Okay. This has to be a choice. You choose which side of the fence you're on. The reason that people act out and do things, you know, you have to have the realization at some point that it has to do with, you know, other people projecting themselves. That's like their destiny swap stuff. They hurt you. They know, they have like files on people. Okay, they know all kinds of things about you. They've been studying this for a long time. That's part of their, you know, Freemason Eastern Star crap. Okay, which is the Cabal. The Cabal is the shadow government that has, you know, all the little people in place, and, you know, their secrets And then there's, privacy. There's two different things. Secrets as in that they're homosexual and they're pedophiles. That's the big problem. We cannot have that going on. The reason they're pedophiles is because it's about them stealing energy, life force, creativity, talent, everything that's in their chakras that they won't heal. Really stupid. And of course, about Nesara Gesara, if you're involved in any human trafficking, you're hurting others, you're hurting animals, because what do serial killers do? They start off with animals first. That puts negativity on you. Eating, flesh is putting negativity on you. Look at your teeth. You do not have teeth like a tiger, like a lion, like a dog, like a cat. You cannot physically go and run after an animal, and I mean like an animal that's running, okay? Chase it down and grab it with absolutely nothing. Just you yourself, like an animal does, all right? And eat it just like it is, without cooking. You were not made for that. That's, the big lie that we've been sold. They make us forget with trauma and their metals, mercury, and yeah, it's in this thing, I said something and I didn't even say it exactly as it was, this. I posted up on TikTok. Didn't even, it just went up. It wasn't even like 30 seconds, and they said violation, and stopped it. Something funny going on there. But they do these little community guidelines crap, that's their societal bullshit. That is part of the cabal. Anytime they're saying, why do they ignore the Constitution? They do this all the time, okay? Everything's inverted and backwards. They put people on drugs by putting it in their food and drink. They put these metals, mercury, arsenic, you name it. They put poisonous plants, and they feed it to us. I've had them do it literally in my food and drink. I know when I'm getting sick, I'm not someone that gets sick, okay? But it's them they've been doing this to me since I was a baby. It's very hard to deal with that all the time, just non-stop. But it's because they're afraid of someone that can see things. It's like they have a terror over it. But they wouldn't be in fear if they would heal themselves. They can't see what they need to see because they're, they pretty much demolished their brain by going the way that they go. Even school is, school, college, everything. The way everything is in this world, it's all logic, left brain, and, forcing this, forcing that. Well, you must do this, you must do that. Well, that's the problem. Society pushes this, pushes that, and it's the problem. Men and women and children, we have free will, free choice. What right do people have to tell other people there's constraints, you can't do that? To tie people down and keep them from having a car, a vehicle, keep them from having a home when they've been given a home, received it in a will, and they hide it. They just keep everything. That's what these people do. And you get on this healing journey, you find out who took what from you. And then you proceed. Okay? You learn how to magnetize it and draw it to you. And that it may require you to do videos, which also helps you to get over things that people may have done to you, traumas and stuff like that. you do it to where you get used to it, and just move on. They've built this whole society on, oh, well, if you have this problem, this is how you handle it, and, if you have this health problem, da 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 da. It's inverted. Everything's backwards. Okay? And if you hear something that triggers you and makes you get upset and puts you in your feelings, number one, just because you have, these feelings or these feelings doesn't mean that it's true. The feelings you're feeling. It has a lot to do with where your trauma is. Okay? And that's why they traumatize you, so you won't see things correctly. Okay? This is how they're able to hide. They hide in plain sight. They hide in your neighborhoods. Okay? Now, cities and stuff like that really is kind of, it's just straight up run by Satan. Why would they want to pile so many people all in one place? Because then they're forced into doing things the way that they're told. Well, this is the only way you can do anything. It's the way they control. Okay? But we can turn all this around. Tell me something. When they do this landscaping and all this, that, everywhere that they, have the people paid to do it, how come they don't do edible landscaping? Like growing food, along the highways and in the cities and towns and suburbs. Why don't they do that? Because it's all about money. How come they don't have, homeopathic, ways, really the head of the game of everything? They push this, well, you need this pill, you need this pill. It's about putting people to sleep, slowly poisoning them. Because these people are just straight terrified. They're terrified of people waking up. Because then they'll know how to have their own abundance, and these people won't be able to extract it off anyone. They literally do use people as batteries. If they're dying, or they're having health problems, or an injury, whatever, they come to take it out on someone. These are people that laugh when they see other people hurting. They laugh. Like, no compassion at all. That is really sick and twisted. This is supposed to be, a happy life. Why is it so barbaric? It is so barbaric. And it shouldn't be like that. You have to be able to look at what's wrong. And if it's been this way for a long time, you have to realize that if you're going to read something, no matter where it is, you're going to have to look at it much deeper than that. Like, you're gonna have to have the realization where it came from, and that it may be twisted in a way that you're not seeing it. I mean, they have all this legalese, but you got to have someone else interpret it. Why? Because it's rather crooked then, if it's not point blank. We have a constitution, but it's completely ignored. People are worried about the New World Order. It's already been in control. It's been in control for quite some time. It's what's hidden from you. They want to put people in fear because they're in fear. It's projection. It's what they do. They plagiarize. Okay? I mean, that's how you have good things in the Bible, good things in Scripture, but they plagiarized it and they switched things around, move this here, make it sound this way, and their chakras weren't healed, they weren't correct and balanced when they did this. So it's going to be the way that they see it. Why does the Bible contradict itself? Explain that. There is a King James Bible in every Freemason lodge. That's like, what? Uh, the church, okay, it's the bride, right? Which means that would be the feminine part marrying the groom, the bridegroom, the masculine part within oneself. Like you go and get in meditation, listening to the still small voice because it's not this loud voice. So you have to know what you're hearing, okay, that you're not hearing the wrong thing. You have to ask yourself, is this right? Is this true? Is this correct? You shouldn't really act out on it until you know for sure. It's where you're learning to get your intuition and then learning to trust it. That's why you want to heal all the chakras, starting off with the bottommost chakra, which is the root chakra. Look, when I started this journey, I'm like, what the hell is that? I had to look up and research this stuff, like heavily research. Well, I know it depends, but it's been a journey, okay? And it's like you learn more and more. And the biggest thing that blew my mind was tarot cards. Because that's like, you don't need to go to psychologists. The way they do things, the way they do everything is they're putting the people that are poor, that they've made poor and kept everything from, that they're siphoning off of. They put them through, the jail, the psychological crap, the prison, and the whole gamut. Whatever they can, the worst they can. We've been living in this like institutionalized life. We have people that are very institutionalized. Boy, I get it. Because they're about forcing it on people. When I was young, I would sit here and point out things like, well, that doesn't make sense. And the looks on their faces is like, how do you know that? Or, you're too young to know that. And it's like, no. When you're young, you can really see things. And you're looking at these people are telling you, no, it's got to be this way. You're like, you're nuts. They don't see it the way that, someone that's healed or was born with their chakras healed, okay? Or, I don't know how to say it. They had intuition, okay? And they could see things in a metaphorical, spiritual sense, all right? Instead of the way they see it, everything's very literal. So like if you're reading the Bible, scripture, literal, you're going to miss a whole lot. I mean, please explain to me, what is the purpose of human sacrifice? What is the purpose of killing animals for sacrifice? That is absolutely insane. That is insanity. And you hear these, Christian people that are really religious because they grew up that way. They've been taught this. It's been programmed for centuries, y'all. But you have to really just think about this. What sense does that make? I had this asshole telling me, the fake dad, who's actually my uncle, telling me when I was a little kid that, well, you kill animals to let the blood flow because that washes away the sins. I'm like, how does that work? That doesn't make a damn bit of sense. And it didn't. It makes no sense. You have to really look at what they're saying and why they're saying it. You have to look at it the way an evil person does. And then you have all new eyes. Like, oh shit. What they're really saying. The literal MK Ultra and all these horrible things are literally right there in your Bible. It's just hidden. You're just not seeing it. Go look at the book of Esther, the book of Job. That is MK Ultra. That's how they, Job especially, but yeah, Esther too. But it's what they're doing to people, attacking them, doing all these horrible things to them because it's about them trying to get them to commit suicide. It's because they're putting all their karma on someone else. And here's the problem. It's their karma. Right? So you get healed. You do all these things so that you're not wearing their karma. So it goes back to them. They have got to heal it. The reason we do this healing, and it's like a wave, okay? Depending upon how the rate that you heal at, okay? How quickly it goes back. And usually it takes, something pretty bad to wake someone up if they haven't woken up spiritually. So are you waiting for something horrible to happen to you for you to wake up spiritually? The point here is to beat physical death with an ego death, the death that doesn't hurt you. Okay, that is the point. No matter how you see something right now, no matter how you feel about something right now, let me ask you something. Is it true? Or is it just how you're feeling? And are you feeling that because other people are projecting it onto you? Go read the book of James. What does it say about the tongue and what you're saying? So words are spells. So you've got to be, number one, you've got to learn how to be positive with your words. And that is quite a thing to learn how to do, but you're reprogramming yourself and your mind to speak a certain way. I mean, to get your wording correctly. That's why they've got to invert everything. That's why they have all these sayings. And if everyone keeps doing this, we can turn it all around. Okay? The point is to have a safe world for everyone, for kids, for animals. We should be living, and coinciding with nature, not against. Do you see how Mother Nature is? How it gets wild and all these things happen? It's because of the pain that is here on the planet. It's the pain of the animals. You can't do that. Now, there are animals that do eat meat, so, when you decide to stop eating meat, which is wonderful, you have no idea how much better you will feel. But there are animals that eat it. We need to be taking care of the animals. Not this, they take care of themselves. Then that means you have no heart. You don't think that the universe, it's like this. Something happens somewhere, and the universe puts something in front of you. What do you do with it? Do you do the right thing? Because a lot of times people are being tested and they have no idea. And if you fail that test, it's here you go through another cycle. And it's going to beat you the fuck up. I mean, it will. It'll keep going until you finally start learning it. This is the reason that we're here. We come to Earth to exist here, to learn what we need to learn. And then go from there, right? The Bible is basic knowledge before leaving Earth, not, because I've been beat to death with the religious people and, just gang stalked and chased after and just, oh my God. Cyber stalked. I've been stalked my whole life. You know what I mean? Obsessed people. It's like, what are these people's problem? They have no clue that they're insane. If you're doing things that is taking on negativity, such as actual death, you think that you're supposed to sacrifice something else? No. It's you make sacrifices such as you quit eating meat, you take time to meditate, you gonna research things, learn what you need to learn. All this stuff has been twisted. You don't go and sacrifice them. You don't go and sacrifice someone. That's pure insanity. And you absorb that negativity, and you become that more negative. That is backwards. And that's exactly what Satan wants. Anytime you sacrifice any life, and that includes, they have the cold iguanas in Florida or whatever, and they're going and they take them to people for them to be killed, kill humanely. There is no humane killing. You wear that negativity. You wear it and you don't lose it until you get healed. It's time for people to stop this. The government does not have the right to go to someone's house and tell them, well, you can't have this many this. You can't da. If they're being taken care of and not being abused, what right do you have? That makes no sense to me. We have people that are telling everyone what to do and how to do it. Are they our parent? Are they God? Do you see what role they're playing here? They believe that God is like this big, parent and beating everyone up and telling them what to do. That's not God. That's Satan. That is, these people are literally sacrificing to Satan, to Moloch, to Lucifer. Why do you have all these people on, TV screens or devices, whatever, and they're all showing the horns with their hands? You've got to see things as they really are. If you're stuck in this whole bread and circus thing, watching the sports, oh, that's real manly. No, it isn't. Being a hunter, that's romantic. You follow what I'm saying? That is like the most ridiculous shit. But that's why they put this stuff out there, They put stuff out there and they want everyone to watch it. Watching crap all the time, it puts you in the left brain unless you're going to be watching some nature stuff, But you need to detach and be able to do something. That's why people need, to have transportation so they can actually go somewhere. Go visit somewhere in nature. Go put their bare feet on the ground. That's grounding. It's connecting you with Mother Nature, and we need that. That helps with, intuition, meditation. You want to eat the colors that correspond with the chakras. That helps. It really does. Wearing the colors. There's music, frequency music, that helps you heal your chakras. You can play that in the background. I mean, we live in this world that's dollaring us to death, and it's money. It's all it's run on. It's where's the love? Okay? If you do not have love, how the hell can you expect someone to love you when you don't even love yourself? If you love yourself and learn how to love yourself right, that doesn't mean be selfish and browbeat everyone that this is how you're going to treat me. There are men out there and women too, that want to control people. That's what Satan does. That's structure. You are to be your own structure. Right? That's very barbaric. Telling people, you can't do that. We got these rules. It's supposed to be the damn Constitution, wasn't it? But what was before the Constitution? Right here in America, it was Native America. People were free. But if you don't do the right thing, karma's going to come and smack you the hell around. You get on this journey and you're doing the right thing, then you're abundant. You could feed a man for a day, but what about him being able to do for himself? You know what I mean? For a lifetime. You don't have to go through this no more. You learn this stuff and you don't have to go through it no more. And you've learned what you need to learn. Then it's heaven. It's glorious. I know, that just sounds awful, doesn't it? Y'all, it's time for positivity and speak positive words. Okay? If you're speaking positive words and the words are spells, that changes everything. I mean, the problem with the news is there's so much, they put all the doom and gloom out there, and that's on purpose. Whether they know it or not, something is directing them all. Because who owns the airwaves, or who has owned the airwaves? Satan, Lucifer, Lilith. That's your three main ones. And they didn't have to be that, but they took that on with all the negativity, the killing, the murdering people for money. I mean, this is their little family thing, is to murder people for insurance money. You know, their cult of rape, murder, steal, kill, destroy, trafficking, anything and everything. And there's a lot of corrupt, you know, law people, but there's also good law people. But because there's corrupt people there's all these people with the, you know, twisted stuff. Look, if you're a law official of any kind, a politician, it doesn't even matter. If you sleep with someone, because that's what they need, you know, someone to, they're going to put that there because they have someone that's got all their demons on them, sexually transmitted demons, which if they've got that, they're probably carrying something. Not always. I guess it depends, you know, how far deep they've been doing this stuff. They may have even been doing it for lifetimes. Okay? They're going to send someone to whomever they want to control, and it's going to put demons on them. And they're not going to understand what's going on. But it's also so they can find a way to put poisons, their kitchen witchery or warlocky, whatever, in their drink, in their food. There's all kinds of stuff they use to do this. They do weird stuff. They need to get some personal item, and then they do something with it. Okay? They do things at certain intervals of, you know, the moon, you know, full moon and new moon and all this stuff. They do some kind of rituals. They're weird. I mean, when I say weird, I mean like a sick weird, okay? I mean, there's like a good weird. Everyone has got to learn to be their authentic self, not copy someone, because that's what narcissists do. You know, there are people that are being projected onto that look like narcissists, but they actually aren't. It's the you know, being poisoned and being projected onto and being gang stalked, attacked, because that will make you reactive. You know, they put you through reactive abuse. When you see someone going through that, you're going to have to learn that something's going on there, okay? That usually means they're being attacked. Or, I mean, it's obviously someone with unbalanced chakras. They have trauma. All right? We need to get to where we all understand this, and we shouldn't be judging a book by its cover. I mean, hell, they've said for I don't know how long in movies and all that stuff that, oh, women with blonde hair, they're just airheaded. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, what, blonde men aren't? You see my point? That is like the dumbest thing ever. It's basing everything on looks. If you do that, then you're going to miss the whole point. You know? You're not going to see what you need to see. That's why they tell a lie for so long, so that you just believe it, hook, line, and sinker. You've got to wake up and be aware. There's a movie called Awakenings where they take a pill and wake up. Well, red pill. You know, there's things in all these movies and stuff that's very metaphorical when you see it. If you pull away from like the drama and the negativity, and spend more time with your family, or spend more time with yourself. You may have to spend time with yourself. They call it dark night of the soul, the wilderness, hermit mode. There's all kind of different names for everything. That's where you really heal. That's where you really hear the divine, you hear God. Instead of listening to other people tell you about it, and how much do they know? You understand what I'm saying? You go to God yourself so you can hear and know. You've got to have an open heart chakra, so that you can hear. But the reason you start, at the bottom chakra, that's your foundation. And you go through each one. The next one's the sacral chakra, which that's like your wealth chakra, okay? But you need to have them all, healed and working. But it may require you to, spend time away from others so that you're able to see more clearly who is your friend, who isn't your friend. There can be some really bad ones, and then there can be the ones that are, traumatized and need healing as well. But you have to kind of pull back so that you're able to heal. See, it changes so much. But when you're with others, as they say, birds of a feather flock together, and, you don't want to be around bad company, which is why they need to poison you and melt your brain and stuff like that. And they do it with, if they get metals into you and it crosses that blood-brain barrier, then they use their electromagnetic weapon, which they stole that from Nikola Tesla. Yeah, they've done a lot of bad things, but don't let them put you in fear. They need that fear to feed off of. That's the whole point. It's like they're projecting that fear onto others, which is their fear. All right? They feed off of it, though, because then that's them taking the adrenochrome from others. And they do it by upsetting someone and getting them to react. If you have somewhere to go that you can be alone, when you have people that can't stand to be alone, there's something going on there. You really need that time alone, because it's meant to keep you from hearing God. So it's very important, and it's life-changing to go through this, and it changes everything, and it is the abundance. It's like, so you got to go through some trials and tribulations in order to heal, in order to make it. But you learn to pray. You speak your intention. If your words are spells, then you want to learn to speak positively, speak your intention, and learn to stop the negative talk. Okay? No matter what is going on in this world, if you learn to do that, that is huge. And start going in the direction that you want to go, no matter what it is. And you just keep going. You never, ever, ever quit. We're supposed to lift people up, not bring them down, destroy them, and make it so they lose everything. Here's the thing. You reap what you sow. So what you put out there, how you treat others, that includes animals, everything. Okay? Why do we cut down the trees the way we do? That's taking away oxygen, which is healing. Okay? That hemp, you can make so much stuff out of hemp. Okay? They have hemp bricks, hemp paper, and no bad chemical involved. Everything from, whatever you use hemp for, whatever's left over can be used for something else. And it grows by a river or in a drought. Cannabis is a divine plant. Yes, even marijuana. But, the Illuminati, Freemasons, they hate it. Why is that? Every living being, animals and people, we have cannabinoid receptors. Well, why is that? We have this government telling people what they can have and can't have. Well, that's against the will of the people. I mean, if you feel this way about it, fine, but you don't have the right to tell someone else how to feel about it. The Native Americans used plants for healing. You're going to tell people what they can have here, what they can have there, all this. Why do they have all these controls at the borders and everything everywhere? Because it's about control. So they can make money. They make money off of trafficking. If people want to be, they've chipped the people they want to watch, well, it's what you put out there comes back to you. You chipped people so you can keep an eye on, you can end up chipped. And people knowing where you're going, what you're doing. And people want to be, wicked and evil. It's, and there's people that are healing. Well, that's how you can watch them. Instead of all this, control everything. That's what's making everything so bad. You're going to have people making war with each other doing that. These people that are trying to control everything, you have got to get healed the most. Because that's human trafficking. Controlling another. Do you realize who is not going to have an inheritance? The human traffickers, child traffickers, and that includes the damn government. You have to be right on what you're doing. You have to have evidence of what you're doing, not just grab someone and say, oh, well, this. The way the laws are all screwed the hell up. They put innocent people away all the time. That's why the balance is so bad. It is so bad. It's wrong. That's why things aren't going the right way, and people don't have abundance. And it's really the ones that are doing the controlling. They just steal it. Whether they realize what they're doing or not. They think, well, this is the right way. No, it's not. If you turn off the TV, stop listening to them for, a period of time, then you come back just to say watch movies and certain things like that, and you'll be like, oh, shit. You'll see things that you weren't seeing before. In the movies, like things that just, the metaphorical sense, like, I never noticed that before, Or you noticed it, but not like you do later. But that, a lot of the news and stuff programs the hell out of you. But you can watch other things that doesn't involve that, and if there's something that's important, it'll come across. You see what I'm saying? But these platforms with their community guidelines and controlling everything, that's human trafficking too, because you're controlling people. There's no freedom of speech, and we are absolutely allowed freedom of speech. What shouldn't be allowed is all this, pornographic shit everywhere. The ads, the movies, the platforms where they have it. They accept that, but boy, if you happen to say that V word, how insane is that? Well, don't tell the truth on us, because they know what they're doing. Do you realize what they put in it? Mercury. Oh, that planet. You have to sit here and say things in a certain kind of a way because they want to sit there and control people. You're going to get really fucked up by doing that. You need to stop doing that. They don't get onto people for, these people that go and, take someone's picture and do AI and CGI and put something out there that ain't true, but, makes it look like they're naked and gang stalk them or whatever. They don't do nothing about that. They like, yeah, let's do that. Y'all gonna pay the worst price. Y'all don't want to be involved in that. And you do not want to listen to gossip and slander. There's people that are telling truths, and they're doing it because that's what they're getting from the divine in order to wake them up so that they can get on the right path. There's a big difference. Um, how do you stop people from telling the truth, but you allow people to sit there and gossip and slander? Gossip and slander means falsities, bearing false witness. The people that are trying to, you know, be all religious and be Bible thumpers, telling everyone else what to do, but they don't follow the Ten Commandments. They don't follow the Constitution. Gee, I wonder what's wrong with that. There's the people that are awakening, those that are awake already, and then there's the ones that are like, no, 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 you know, freaking the heck out. Like, there's people that see this, you know, and then there's people that, you know, are doing everything they can to quiet it, to shut it up, to keep it quiet. No, don't let this get out there. You do your little takedown of someone's video and stuff like that, and God wanted it up. Ooh, you understand? God may certainly punish you. The universe, the karma will punish you. I mean, you just don't get it. And karma doesn't lose an address. Karma's not a bitch. It's just that, you know, ain't gonna lose an address. It's attached to you, and it's the point of everyone healing, so they're not wearing someone else's karma. If you're putting negative words out there, it's gonna come back to you. So, like, if you're a part of, you know, bearing a false witness, gossiping, slandering, and it's not true, that's going to come back. You want to be very careful and know that you're saying the true thing. That's why you get healed, do meditation, listen to God, you know, listen to the divine. You don't believe in God, or you're an atheist or whatever, well, sit down, get your chakras healed, meditate, and, you know, get out in nature and see if you feel completely different. You know, that's the true baptism of the waters. You are, you know, like 75% water in your body, like the earth. You know, think about it. It's not the way that we were told, and we've been programmed this for a long time, hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay, we just keep, you know, it's the circle of life, the wheel. You know, this is something everyone can do, and to be able to do this in a much quicker fashion than other people have that have gone through the worst. But because they cared about wanting people to be healed and not wanting to see people be hurt, they went through some really bad, awful shit in order to help others, because they don't want to see people die. They want to see people, yes, have an ego death. Yes, it may be some pain, but damn, time to grow up, put on the big girl, big boy pants, and do this for yourselves, your family, your bloodline. You have to go through maybe some emotional pain, right? Water has memory. Do you know that they've done studies where they did frequency music, different kinds of music, and they'd freeze the water and the geometric patterns that would show up, or the chaos that would show up. So your words have a frequency, and truth is a frequency. So are lies. So if you just pay attention like that, you're 70 to 75% water, whatever it is, that frequency has that much effect. And your speaking is a frequency, and what you say. Oh, go watch like Ghostbusters 2, where they're talking about the anger and, you know, the stuff reacts to it, that, what was it, pink slime or whatever. And then if when it was positive, what happened? Statue of Liberty took a walk, and they defeated evil. Go watch Ghostbusters 2, you know, the old one. I don't know if they've redone it. They redo shit all the time because it's like they've run out of things to do. Which that tells you a lot too. Yeah, all their ideas are stolen. Yeah, your words have major effect. So when there's something serious going on, you want to speak life into a situation, not death. You got to learn how to word it so that you're not speaking a lie per se, but you just got to learn how to word it, right? And like the news and all this stuff, they're gonna have to learn how to reword everything, do things right. Stop with this bullshit of, you know, they do stuff with these actors and actors. Oh, this person died in it. They pop up over here looking a little bit different, but it's, you know, it's like, what are y'all doing? They do a lot of that. It's all their illusion, and they do all kinds of stuff. It's to mess with people, you know, to mess with them people that they're doing it to, and the people that are the viewing audience. But this stuff has an effect on people, y'all. It's time to change and heal this whole entire planet, the whole world. You know? What a world it would be if everyone healed. Alright, y'all. Take care. God bless.